Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Shelly Wilson Show. I'm an intuitive medium, a Reiki master, and a spiritual teacher. My mission is to assist others on their own journey into consciousness and encourage them to live an authentic life through awareness and empowerment. Coming from a place of respect, truth, integrity, and love, I honor your free will and recognize that you are co-creating your reality with the universe. My intention is to bring understanding, help you to heal from the past, and realize your full potential. I invite you to begin your life in a new way and tap into your inner power as you explore who you really are. Refrain from simply existing and elect to live your life fully without regret. It is time to let go of the past, live in the present, and look to the future, for it is this attitude that will transform you. Today's special guest is Garnet Schulhauser, author of Dancing on a Stamp. Garnet practiced corporate law with two large law firms in Calgary, Canada for 34 years before retiring. Garnet's life changed dramatically one day in 2007 when he was confronted on the street by a homeless man named Albert. Over the next few years, he had a series of conversations with Albert, who was actually a wise spirit guide in disguise, who disclosed startling new truths about life, death, the afterlife, and God. Albert answered all of life's big questions about who we are, our purpose for being on earth, and what happens to us after we die. Albert's revelations were inspiring, uplifting, and comforting, and flew in the face of almost everything that Christian holy men had been preaching for centuries. Garnet wrote Dancing on a Stamp at Albert's request so that these revelations would be available to everyone. And so while we're waiting on our guests to call in, I would like to just take a moment also to read the backside of this book, because always this is a great synopsis of the book itself. And it says, have you ever stared at your image in the mirror and wondered how you got here? Did God select this life for you, or did the universe assign it by chance? When you die, will you go to heaven or hell? Will you merely cease to exist, disappearing into nothingness? Is all that stuff you learned in Sunday school the real truth, or just a lot of hooey? Most adults on this planet ask these questions at one time or another without finding answers that make sense. Then one day, a homeless man named Albert steps out of the shadows and answers all of your questions in a way that will rock your worldview and change the course of your life. That's what happened to Garnet Schulhauser. The shocking revelations of Albert, one of his spirit guides, flew in the face of everything that Christian holy men had been preaching for hundreds of years, and provided refreshing new insights into the journey of the soul. A few centuries ago, one would have been burnt at the stake for espousing such heresy. Well, I am waiting once again, as I said, for Garnet to call in. He's supposed to call in via Skype, so we will just take a few moments and see. I'd like to just go ahead and let you know, I know recently I've had a lot of authors and guests on my show, and I am getting back to the original intent of the Shelly Wilson Show, where I will be offering readings and insight. I did a series called Spirit Connections on the Shelly Wilson Show, and this was each Monday offering that insight, and I'm putting that show back on hiatus for now just because of a lot of other things that I have going on with my schedule. So I definitely want to let you know that the Wednesday Intent Show will be coming back to its original intent as soon as all of the guests that I have scheduled, their time is completed. I want to take also a moment to let you know that I am doing a series of short shows. This is on Friday afternoons from 4 to 4:30, and this is Journey into Consciousness. So the intent of that show is to assist you in making those conscious connections, as well as to assist you on your journey into consciousness. This is definitely a wonderful time of healing and sharing and growing together. I have an event that I'm really excited about tomorrow evening in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and this is my Creating the Life You Desire workshop. This event is at the Northwest Center for Spiritual Living, and it's from 6 to 9 p.m. I also have some upcoming guests. Next week's guest will be Charmian Redwood. She's the author of the book Coming Back to Lemuria. On October 2nd, I will have Jack Churchwood as my guest on the show, and he'll be talking about his book that discusses the lost continent of Mu. And then on October 16th, I have a guest, fellow colleagues. I've got David Scott, Brandy Chrisman, Joseph Carringer, and James McGuire. We are all part of an event called Love's Whisper that will be held in Tulsa, Oklahoma on November 16th. We're going to be talking about that on the show on October 16th, so I'm looking forward to that time together. Some upcoming events that I do have, I'll be in Oklahoma City at the Spirit Fair, October the 5th and 6th. You can visit my website, shellyrwilson.com, and click on that to learn more. Also, I'll be in Tulsa October the 12th. That's 6:30 to 9, and that will be a group reading event at the Unity Center of Tulsa. I will be in Topeka, Kansas, November 2nd and 3rd at the Body, Mind, Spirit Fair. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, November 9th at the Tulsa Spirit Fair. So once again, you can check out my website. Click on the Upcoming Events tab to learn more about that. And I am going to go ahead and play a quick Opening Your Heart meditation for the listeners. We may end up taking callers during today's show if the guest doesn't call in. The call-in number would be 347-308-8250. But go ahead and listen and take a moment to the Opening Your Heart meditation.
Take a moment to just be. Sit in a chair with your back straight and your palms up, open to receiving. Close your eyes. Relax. Breathe in deeply and exhale. Imagine yourself in the most beautiful, tranquil place. This is your safe haven, your nirvana, your paradise. Your senses are heightened as you conceptualize this utopia. You may have strolled into a hidden garden nestled behind an English cottage covered in ivy. Discovering a bench, you choose to sit down amongst the flowers and savor the sweet scents. The delicate fragrance of the roses and other flowers fill your lungs. As you sit and bask in the splendid aroma, it is time to ground your energy. Envision tree roots coming up through your feet and a vine wrapping around your legs. This vine is extending upwards into your root chakra, moving up into your sacral chakra, moving up and extending into your solar plexus chakra, and resting in your heart chakra, grounding you in Mother Earth. Now envision white light from Source Consciousness coming in through your crown chakra, down into your third eye chakra, down into your throat chakra, and meeting with Mother Earth energy at your heart chakra. You are grounded to Earth and to light. Be mindful of your breath. Feel your chest expand with the inhalations. Feel your chest deflate with the exhalations. Feel the love you have within you. Allow the essence of you to unfold and surround you. This beautiful divine energy surrounds your being. Allow it to envelop you fully. Open your heart to love. Be thankful for this moment and every moment. Allow this gratitude and love to flow freely through you and around you as you simply breathe. Affirm, my heart overflows with gratitude and joy. I am conscious of being present in this moment. I recognize that I am love and I am loved. I am allowing myself to simply breathe. Place one hand over your heart and feel the pulse of life within you. It is through your heart that you are connected to all things. It is here that you will find your truth. Open your heart fully and freely to love and all that love beholds. Love is a nurturer of the soul. Love ignites the flame within us. Allow the love you have within you to surround you. Feel the love wash over you in waves of bliss as it cleanses your body of any pain you have previously felt. Just as the petals of a rose opens, allow your heart to open fully. Allow yourself to receive the same love that you are sending out. Embrace and bask in this love because you are love and you are loved. Express your gratitude for the love that is within you and surrounds you. Once again, be mindful of your breath. Move your fingers and wiggle your toes as you open your eyes. Know that you are love and you are loved. Remember that you are not alone on this journey. All of the answers that you seek can be found within if you take the time to listen.
And so welcome back, and I would like to welcome my guest, Garnet Schulhauser, author of the book Dancing on a Stamp, to today's show. Hello, Garnet.
Hi, Shelly. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
No worries.
I'm here.
I always have something ready to go.
Good for you.
So I would love to hear more about you and your journey, and then we're going to talk about your book, Dancing on a Stamp.
Well, my adventure with that led up to the writing of my book began in 2007. At the time, I was practicing corporate law in Calgary, in Canada, where I'd been practicing for quite a while in a very large law firm. And so one day, a sunny afternoon in May of 2007, I decided to go for a walk to get a breath of fresh air. So I took the elevator down from my office and walked out into a pedestrian mall, which was just right in front of our building, and I started strolling down the street. And I had done this many times before. So what made this day very unusual and very life-changing for me was that as I sort of proceeded down the mall for a couple of blocks, all of a sudden a homeless man jumped out in front of me and stopped me in my tracks. Now, he looked like a typical homeless man. He had long, stringy hair and scraggly beard and dirty, slept-in clothes. And my typical reaction to these people when I had met them before, homeless people on the street, is just to do a quick sidestep and go around them.
Right.
But this man was different because he had amazing, sparkling, dazzling blue eyes that shone like two little blue stars. And he when he looked at me, I was like a deer caught in the headlights. And his eyes were doing two things at the same time, which are really quite astounding. The first thing was that I felt like his gaze was penetrating deep inside me, right down into the depths of my soul.
Wow.
And I just felt this. He didn't say anything. And I'd never met this man before, but I sensed that he knew everything about me. He knew everything I'd ever said or done in my life. And
wow.
He knew all my hopes and aspirations, and he knew my fears and anxieties, and he knew my deepest and darkest secrets. And how,
wow.
I don't know, because I'd never met him before.
Right.
But at the same time, and so I was standing there feeling sort of naked and exposed to this man.
A little taken aback, I'm sure.
I'm sorry?
I'm sure you were a little taken aback as well.
Yeah, I was, and it was like I was quite surprised, but I didn't turn tail and run because at the same time, his eyes were sending me this amazing flow of pure, unconditional love, which was just sort of entering my body and infusing my whole being with a sense of peace and security. It was a wonderful feeling. So despite the fact that he was, sort of invading my privacy in a way, he was also sending me this pure, unconditional love, which gave me the reassurance that I should not be afraid or concerned, and that this was a very special person. So I stood there. I think I was transfixed. It was like I was in a time warp. Don't know how long I stood there. In fact, I didn't care. I could have stood there forever. It was such a wonderful feeling. But then he broke the spell after some period of time by saying to me, "Why are you here?" And then he immediately turned around and he disappeared into a nearby store. So it took me a few seconds to collect my wits, and when I finally did, I knew I had to go and try to find him. So I entered the store. There was only one entrance and exit, and I went in there, and I couldn't see him anywhere. Walked up and down the aisles. I didn't see him leave. I walked back out onto the street and walked up and down the street for a while to try to find him, but he was nowhere to be seen. So I slowly walked back to my office with my head spinning, with wondering sort of what had happened. Who was this guy, and was I dreaming? Was this real? Anyway, and that night at home, I knew that I had to go back and find this man because my curiosity was just burning wildly, and I knew that was my mission. I had to go and find him.
Yeah.
So the next day.
So may I ask, did you sleep well that night?
No, I tossed and turned all night trying to figure out what this is all about. Like, who is this guy, and how could he seem to know so much about me and send me all this love? I'd never experienced this before, so I didn't sleep much. So the very next day, I went back at the very same time on the same street, walked along the street hoping to find him, and for the first while couldn't see him anywhere. Walked up and down, and as you can imagine, just when I was about to lose hope, I saw him. Yeah, there he was, sitting by himself on a bench. So I walked over to him, and our conversation began, which was a conversation which went on for several months, off and on after that. And he told me very early on that he was really one of my spirit guides in disguise. That he had disguised himself as a homeless man, but he was really one of my spirit guides.
And so may I ask, why do you think that he did that?
Well, he did it for a very specific purpose. When I started the conversation, I said, like, who are you and why did you stop me? And he said, well, I'm here to help you on your journey. You've been asking a lot of questions. I'm here to answer them. So his mission was to appear to me to answer my questions.
Yes.
But that was sort of
form.
Sorry?
In physical form, therefore you saw someone in front of you rather than just in your mind.
Yeah, it was. He appeared to me in physical form, and his real mission, though, as I found out as I got into the conversation later, was that he wasn't there just to answer my questions, but he wanted me to give his message, his answers to me, make it available to everyone, and he then enlisted me to write my book, Dancing on a Stamp, which is what I did.
Yeah.
It was interesting, though, that he appeared to me as the homeless man only for the first 3 visits, and after that, he was just a voice in my head. We communicated by telepathy.
Okay.
And I said to him, well, why did you appear as the homeless man, and now you're not? And he said, well, I needed to get your attention in a special way.
Yes.
And to sort of ease you into the conversation, because if I had just started talking to you as a voice in your head, you probably would have thought you were going crazy. So I had to ease you into it, and so I appeared to you this way, but now that we're sort of comfortable talking to each other, I'll just talk to you through telepathy, and you don't need to see me anymore. And in fact, he said that I was the only one who could see him as the homeless man, and if anyone had been passing by the bench that day when we were talking, it would have appeared like I was talking to myself sitting there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so it was really quite amazing, and the conversations we had were very informal. The homeless man's name and my guide's name is Albert. They were quite informal conversations. It was like he didn't preach or lecture to me, and he answered my questions as best he could, given the fact that he had to try to communicate with me when I'm dealing with the limitations of my human mind.
Right.
So he sometimes struggled trying to put his answers into a language or use a concept that I could understand with my earthly mind. But he did a pretty good job, and he was very enlightening. He has a great sense of humor, and it was often like we were just two friends chatting over a beer. So it was really quite enlightening for me. I quite enjoyed talking to the guy, and the only difficulty he posed for me the whole time was that he told me, when I said to him, some of the things you're telling me really should be known to everyone because it would help a lot of people on their journey. And he says, oh, well, they will because you're going to write a book.
Yes. And at that time, what did you think about that?
Well, I was surprised because it never occurred to me that I would write a book. I was practicing law, and that's what I'd done most of my adult life. And the idea of writing a book was somewhat daunting.
Right.
And I wasn't initially. I wasn't inclined, and I did try to resist as best I could. But Albert persisted.
Right.
And I've since learned that you can't win arguments with spirits, so you might as well just go along with it. So eventually I got my head around the fact that I should be writing a book, and I got to it, and eventually it was written and published, and here I am.
And here you are on my show today talking to me about it, Garnet. And for the listeners, I'd like to just mention that I had the opportunity to meet you in person at Dolores Cannon's Ozark Mountain Publishing Transformation Conference that was held this July in Springdale, Arkansas. And so wasn't that a fun weekend?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was particularly eye-opening for me the first time I'd been to the Transformation Conference, and I was fortunate enough to have been invited to speak. And so I enjoyed the whole weekend. I enjoyed meeting the other authors from Ozark Mountain. I enjoyed meeting you and many of the other people who were in attendance. And it was great. Lots of great dialogue. Lots of great speakers. It was just an amazing weekend.
Yeah, and to me, the energy is always really good. It's just fun being in that vibration and being with like-minded people and sharing in this experience. And for me, this was my 5th year to attend it, and every year it's like visiting family and coming together and meeting new friends, making new friends, and then just reconnecting with the ones that we met previously and ones that we met before, but perhaps not in this lifetime either. So it's all about making those conscious connections.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I made a lot of them, and I was just very happy with the whole weekend. I certainly hope to go back again, and hopefully I'll be able to meet you again next year.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's literally just down the road from me. I know you had quite a airplane journey, but for me it's only a couple-hour drive, so it's literally in my backyard, and I'm thankful for that, I have to say. Well, I've got your book in front of me, Garnet, and I would like to ask, is there any topic that was focused on that Albert really gave you some insight that was really eye-opening for you?
Well, probably the most surprising thing, well, sort of two things maybe. The first most surprising thing was that he said, and of course, what he had said, the background to this is that he said we're all, eternal souls, and we incarnate on Earth to experience things and to learn things that you can't experience from where we came from, which is the spirit side. The most surprising thing that he said to me was that our souls choose when we should die, when our physical body should die, when we should leave our incarnations. So basically, there are no accidental deaths on Earth. And even if somebody dies in a tragic car accident, it wasn't really an accident. It wasn't just a happenstance of the universe, some random act. It was because the soul in that person decided it was time to leave.
Right.
And he said that, surprising as this may seem, is that before we incarnate and we prepare our life plans, sort of to set out what we want to do in our lives, we set out at several exit points in our life plans, and those exit points are designed to sort of allow our souls to leave and escape the incarnation and go back to the spirit side. And so our souls actually choose when to leave, and they can choose one of the exit points they develop before you were born, or they can change them or modify them as they go. So that was a bit of a surprise to me, and I thought, I'm not quite sure how this works, Albert, because when we're on Earth incarnated into a human body, we all have free will to make decisions and make choices. And because we don't remember what we intended in our life plans, because by deliberate design we're supposed to not remember what we have put in our life plans, and because everyone else around us that we interact with, the people on the freeway, the people, walking down the street, the people, on the plane beside us or whatever, because those people also have free will and don't remember what's in their life plans, I said, how is it not possible that this clash, this interaction of free wills, at some point might result in an accidental death, a death that wasn't foreseen or that your soul hadn't intended and didn't see coming because, things happen very quickly. And he said, but we have a special troop to prevent that. He said every person has several guardian angels that watch over them, and their job is to make sure that if free will events on Earth might cause a premature physical death to your human, when you're here on Earth, they will actually step in and intervene to prevent that. So if something would lead you to an accident that might cause you to die before your soul's ready to go, they will actually physically intervene if they have to, manipulate physical things on Earth to make sure that doesn't happen, so that your soul always has the ultimate final decision on when it's going to leave. And if somebody does die in a car accident, and you hear about that all the time, it's not because these people were asleep on the job. It's because your soul had decided that was a good exit point, so that was allowed to happen. So that was one of the probably the most eye-opening things for me, was that our souls choose when we leave. And of course, we're not aware of that because our minds aren't privy to what our soul is thinking in this regard. And that's again by design, because I don't think any of us would really consciously want to know when our soul has chosen us to die. I think most of us would rather just, consciously not be aware of that. And so that's why you don't know what your soul is choosing, but there's no question that your soul does have the final decision on when to exit. So that was probably the most surprising thing to me. The other surprising thing was that Albert basically said that the source who created us all and who we all form a part of, the source, or the all that is, or God, or whatever you want to call it, the source does not create events in our life or control events in our life, and the source does not put us here. We come here and incarnate on Earth by our own choice. And when we're on the spirit side, we can choose to choose our own lives in terms of where we're born, who our parents are, who our siblings are, who our spouse will be, and our children, and we choose those things, and we choose to come here. And if we decided that we didn't want to incarnate on Earth, or we wanted to take a break from our incarnations, we could just choose to remain in the spirit side. So the source isn't sort of dictating our lives or controlling the events of our lives. And what's probably surprising for people who, like myself, who was raised as a Christian, he says the source does not judge us after we die and doesn't punish us if we have misbehaved or broken the rules of the source.
Right.
And in fact, he said the source does not make rules for us to follow, despite what a lot of the religions say. The source just does not make rules. So in the view of the source, there's no absolute right or wrong that can happen on Earth. Everything's just an experience, and the source experiences through us everything that we experience, and there's nothing good or bad about it. It's just an experience.
Right, and I think that's wonderful because I was raised Baptist, so I can attest to that fear-based modality that was injected into my consciousness. And the thing is I always knew that wasn't true for me. And I really recognize everything that you just expressed, Garnet, because that is my own beliefs and what I have found to be true as a medium myself, working with clients and those loved ones on the other side, that this is very much the experiences that we're having. We pick them. Our soul just may not remember, because this is on a soul level, the challenges that we may have and the choices that we make as far as picking our parents and these life experiences, but we're picking them because they are opportunities for learning and growth. And I love that validation that Albert provided to you, and to share that message with everyone, because so many people, when they realize that sometimes tragedy can occur, and it often leaves our humanness questioning why. Well, when we can see things from that higher perspective, we're going to see things differently, because we recognize that this was a soul choice. And many times we won't remember, our humanness won't remember, but we just have to trust.
Yeah, no, that's you summed it up very nicely, Shelly, because my background, I mean, you grew up as a Baptist, I grew up as a Roman Catholic in a very strict religious family. We got taught many of the same things that you did, but my vision was that God was some old guy with a beard sitting up in the sky on a golden throne,
man in the sky.
with a golden scepter, and he would manipulate things. So if something good happened to you, it was because of the grace of God that it happened. Something bad happened to you is because God chose that to happen to you, and that He made a bunch of rules, and that His rules, according to the Catholic Church, were they gave us all these rules, which they said came from God. And then if you broke His rules, you would offend God, and if you didn't make amends when you died, you'd be judged and punished. And the ultimate punishment, of course, was to go to hell, which was an awful place where you'd burn in fires forever.
And to me, that's very fear-based, because who wants to live in that fear modality? And people do, people do every day. And when we see things that there are no mistakes, that choices we've made that we may wish we didn't make, they aren't really mistakes. They're just helping us learn and grow and become the person that we really are.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that to me, it was very enlightening. So when I was, early on in my life, in my 20s, I had sort of rejected a lot of the beliefs that I was raised with, and I was sort of in no man's land, casting about for a new paradigm of beliefs to latch onto. And so when Albert came along, it was an amazing sort of revelation to me. What he said about the source not making rules, and about we're on Earth to experience things, and we choose to experience it. And it was very comforting for him to say, no matter what you do on Earth, you can't go wrong or become lost, because whatever you do, you're always going to end up back on the spirit side, which is a beautiful place, which is really home. And there are no really mistakes per se. I mean, you can go off track from your life plan. And we often do that because we don't know what's in it, and we have free will, and we react in different ways to events that happen to us. but there's really no path you can take that does not get you back to the spirit side after you die. And so life on earth is an experience, and if you don't experience everything you had planned to experience, it's still not a wasted life, because you will learn something from everything you do in each incarnation. And to the extent that you haven't experienced or learned what you wanted to, you can keep on coming back as many times as you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I have to just ask, Garnet, I'm just putting this out there, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but being raised Roman Catholic and having this experience and being a lawyer, I know that that's very analytical, very left brain. So I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that this experience with Albert really assisted you in shifting things in your life.
Oh, absolutely. It was an amazing shift, because you're right. I was very much of a left-brained analytical lawyer. You had to sort of you need to show me and prove me things before I'll believe them.
Right.
And I was very much sort of immersed in the material world, servicing clients and trying to get ahead financially and that sort of thing. And I wasn't really thinking about the other things that are important in life, like understanding who I am and where I should be going, and understanding that all other people on this planet are souls just like me. We're all connected to each other. We're all connected to the source, and we're all trying to have a life journey on this planet.
Yes.
And what goes with that is that you need to really extend your love and your compassion and your forgiveness to everyone around you, and forgive anybody who you think has harmed you, and understand that they're just on a journey like you, and nobody's perfect. And when this life is over and everyone has crossed over to the spirit side, you're all going to realize what life on earth was really about, which is, there's nothing for keeps. It's one of the analogies that I liked that he gave to me was, he said, in a way, and it seems to be trifling when you say it now because we're immersed in our lives here, but life on earth is sort of like being in a play. And he said that if you're in a play and your part calls for you to stab another actor to death in the play, you play your part and the other person plays his or her part. When the curtain goes down and you leave the theater, you don't get arrested by the police for murder, because it was just a play. It wasn't for real.
Right.
And when you get back to the spirit side, when you look back on your life on earth, it's very much like, okay, I played a part and you played a part, and even though we may have caused harm to each other, all that's forgotten and understood when you're back on the spirit side, that it was just, you were just both going through a journey, and it wasn't, in a sense, it wasn't for real, even though it seems very real to us right now.
Right.
And so if you happen, so someone who's murdered on earth, when they cross over to the spirit side, and their murderer is also on the spirit side, there's no hatred or animosity. There's an understanding on the part of the victim that you were both playing parts in a play, if you will, on earth.
Right. Right.
And there's just nothing but total love for each other when you're back on the spirit side, which may seem very strange concept to people here on earth, but that's the way it works. He said is when everyone gets back to the spirit side, you don't carry over any negative emotions or any resentment or any hatred or anger. It's all sort of in the past, and you look back on your lives, everyone, and try to analyze and learn from what you did and what you could have done better. But there's no lasting effect. It's just it's a learning experience. It's a school. I mean, this planet is a school, a very tough school, and we all chose to come here. Different things will happen. And when you're on Earth, bad things can happen to you, or you can be involved in a tragedy. But it all disappears when you go back to the spirit side. It was, it's like looking back on your performance in a play.
Yes, and that is so very true. And going back to the heaven and hell aspect, I believe that heaven is all around us, happening, and also hell is all around us, because some people, from their perception, that's where they're at. And so, we can punish ourselves, and we don't have to, cross over and be in one of those states. It can be happening while we're alive, and so many people are really just existing rather than living their life. And sometimes it takes those epiphanies or those catalysts of change to really assist people in waking up and to opening their eyes to see things from that different perspective. And when you were telling your story, I definitely feel, we're here to love and we're here to live, and that is living fully with no regrets. And sometimes it, as I said, it takes these experiences that can be very tumultuous and very challenging and very frustrating at times to really have that eye-opening event happen. And for you had a homeless man that presented himself to you, and you recognize that even though you in that moment may not fully understand anything, you recognize that this was something, and so you took that initiative to find him, and I just love that visualization, Garnet.
Yeah, no, there was no doubt in my mind that he was a very different, a very special person, and I just knew intuitively that I had to pursue that, the conversation with him and find out who he was and what he wanted to tell me.
Right.
And I was very fortunate, and I thank my lucky stars that happened to me, that he appeared to me, because there's a lot of people, as you mentioned, in this world who haven't yet had that epiphany and may never get that kind of epiphany that I had. It certainly has changed my life, and it was like this happened in 2007, and a year later I retired from my law practice because it just didn't seem to be all that relevant anymore.
Right.
It just didn't seem to be the path that I should be on, and I recognized that Albert was there to sort of steer me off onto a different path, and that it was important for me to take that new path, which I did.
And I've got chills as you're telling me that, because chills for me are that sign from Spirit, yes. And I have to say, is you had enough knowingness within you to know that this was something bigger, and you recognize that just that meeting, that chance meeting, even though we know it wasn't by chance, that was how it could change your life. And now you could have ignored him, and you could have gone all about your day, and perhaps that awakening might not have happened in 2007. Maybe it would have happened a few years later, or maybe it would not have, but we recognize that everything's happening exactly when it's supposed to, and here we are today talking about your book, Dancing on a Stamp. And I love, it says, a perspective of seeing the whole. So this is seeing things through the eyes of love, from that higher perspective, seeing things in that new way rather than that old paradigm way of thinking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a little interesting aside, which I did mention before, but when I first met Albert and I first sat down to talk to him, and I said to him, so you said you're here to help me, but I said to him, why do you think you can help me when you can't even help yourself, because it looks like you've been sleeping on the street for weeks and you smell like a dead fish. So how are you going to help me? And he just gave me a big smile, and he said, looks can be deceiving. He said, yes. You look like you're a successful corporate lawyer with everything under control, but we both know that's just a facade.
Wow.
He said, you could turn around and head back to your office and see if you can find your answers that you've been asking all your life in all those emails waiting for you on your computer. Or you can take a chance, sit down and talk to me. What have you got to lose? And
exactly.
I thought, I don't have anything to lose. At most, I've got a half an hour time to lose if it turns out to be a dud conversation. But and it didn't.
Right.
But so anyway, I couldn't entirely turn off my skeptical lawyer brain initially, but once I got into it, then it was clear to me that there was no doubt that I needed to listen to this man. I needed to ask him the questions that I needed answers for. And then when he told me I was going to write a book, I reluctantly caved in and said to myself, okay, well, I'm going to write this book. And so that's led me down this path, and now I'm on the path of talking about my book. And in fact, I'm still in contact with Albert, and I'm in the process of writing my second book. So
very good. I love that. And so, just from your perspective, what does the title mean, Dancing on a Stamp?
Well, the title actually came from Albert, but not initially as a title for my book. And how it arose was that the course of one of our conversations, and I had been whining about this or that wasn't going right in my life. And Albert said, the problem you have is you spent too much of your life dancing on a stamp. And I said to him, well, what do you mean dancing on a stamp? And he said, well, imagine that you're in the middle of this big, beautiful ballroom, and there's great dance music going on, and everyone else is up and swirling around and dancing, and yet there you are standing on one spot like you have leg shackles on, and like you're dancing on a stamp. And he said you need to break free of your shackles and get out and explore this beautiful ballroom that you're making a journey in.
Yeah.
And that will help you help you with your life, help you, have a more fulfilled life. And so that phrase stuck in my mind, dancing on a stamp, because it was kind of unusual. I'd never heard it before.
Right.
And so when I was finishing my manuscript for the book, and I was thinking about a title, that phrase kept on popping into my mind. And so finally I thought I should ask Albert. So I asked him, I said, I'm thinking that as a title for my book, it should be Dancing on a Stamp. And he said, yep, that's good, go for it. And so that's how my title arose.
I love it, because when you see that visualization too, and think of the size of a stamp and the ballroom floor, then that's what he's saying, that you're just using one aspect of the broad spectrum that is available to you, because the world is a huge place, and when we look beyond the earth itself and all of the continents and everything, and then look at the vastness of space and that consciousness, it just expands beyond our comprehension. So that's what he's saying, access it.
Absolutely, and he was basically giving me a gentle nudge, a bit of a kick in my behind to get me off the spot and get going, and exploring the big wide world that we're in, and everything beyond it. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now, and I'm in the process of exploring some very wonderful new areas with Albert for my second book, which I don't really want to say what's in it right now, but because I'd like to keep it as a surprise. But it's I'm having a wonderful adventure with Albert, and it'll all be documented in my second book.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I definitely love your Facebook page, I have to say, Garnet. It's very inspirational, lots of beautiful images and thoughts that are put out there. And so I'm assuming that this came about as an idea to spread the word of the book, and then it's grown into so much more.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Albert certainly gave me some guidance. I mean, his role is to sort of give me broad guidance, not sort of tell me exactly step by step what I should be doing every day. It'd be nice if he did. It would be nice if he had written the book word for word, so I didn't have to write it. But he wasn't about to make it too easy for me. And so he gives me broad guidance, and that was one of the things that he said was that I needed to get out there and promote my book. I needed to make it available to more people and broadcast my message, broadcast his message. And so it led to things like my Facebook page, and I thank you very much for complimenting me on my Facebook page. But that's just sort of one of the ways of trying to get Albert's message out to people so that they can benefit from it like I have so far. Yes,
absolutely. And for the listeners, Garnet's website is dancingonastamp.com, and so is his Facebook page. So the URL is facebook.com/dancingonastamp. So you can like his page and follow those beautiful inspirations. I know I'm always delighted to see them show up on my feed because they're very empowering, and also vibrationally speaking, they just feel really nice. So I definitely, and it was nice seeing your picture of your grandbaby. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I know that that's your pride and joy too, and I can see you twinkling, your eyes twinkling right now as I mentioned that. So sometimes
she's a little sweetheart,
time.
And
I imagine she's probably got you wrapped around her little finger already.
Oh, it took her only the first 5 seconds to do that.
Okay.
she does, and I love it. And I just, we're going to see her again this week, and I really look forward to it. And it's an amazing experience. The first time I've been a grandparent, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, well, it's amazing, isn't it, how when you stop and savor the sweetness of life, that things change, and you've got more time to really enjoy what really matters.
Yeah, no, I fully intend to enjoy it, and hopefully I'll have a few more years on this planet to watch her grow up and go to school and graduate from high school and all those good things, and maybe even get married one day.
Absolutely, yeah, and the beauty of it is just recognizing that each one of us are having our own experiences, but the great thing is we can rejoice and celebrate in one another's experiences too, whether we get to experience it for ourselves or just get to view it as that observer and rejoice in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm very keen on, as I say, watching my granddaughter grow up, and hopefully I can help her on her journey, because I know that she's going to help me in many ways on my journey. And I think that's what was all intended. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I have to say, just your presence alone, and that's what we all should recognize, that there's nothing great and magnificent that we really have to do, because so many people say, what is my purpose? Well, we can make it easy on ourselves and just be ourselves, just enjoy life, just have those experiences for source, and be happy and live life joyfully and fully without having regrets or feeling like we've made mistakes.
Yeah, no, that's right, and that's all part of what Albert told me was that we all basically create our own reality on Earth. I mean, we go through life and we encounter events, and it's up to us to decide whether those events, whether we react positively or negatively. Mm-hmm. And we can see things as the glass half full or half empty.
Right.
We could choose to be happy or choose to be miserable. It's entirely up to us. And we have to just look at things with a very positive attitude. And be happy, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can spend your life as a very happy person, or you can spend it as a very despondent person. You'll end up at the same place anyway, and you might as well enjoy your journey, smile a lot, laugh a lot, and make your life and other people's lives more enjoyable. That's the way you should go. And there's no point in taking the opposite path, because it doesn't help you any and doesn't help anybody around you.
That is the truth. And the thing is, too, is so many people put off things saying, well, I'm too old, or there's not enough time, or, making excuses. And it just essentially is what's going on. Well, the time's going to pass anyway. So if you want to do something, well, go ahead and do it. Make that commitment and have that bucket list every day, rather than putting it off or waiting on something to happen or thinking you'll have time later or whatever. It's best just to start doing what you really want to do every day. And, of course, that's within reason and within the law and everything else, so we need to put that disclaimer out there. But the thing is not to have any regrets, just to live your life as you would and without that regret.
Yeah, exactly. And regret is sort of is a very very bad negative emotion. You shouldn't. I mean, we've all made what we consider to be mistakes in our lives, but we should just learn from the mistakes and then move on and not dwell on them. Don't have regrets. Don't live with remorse, but just look at each day as being a new clean slate. And okay, well, no matter what I did in the past, now I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do it in a positive way, and meet the challenges head on. Without any fear, without any guilt, or without any, and if you don't do it right, without any regret. I mean, that's the way that we all should be living our lives. Right.
Well, Garnet, I pulled up your website, and it's dancing on a stamp for the listeners. And I have to the page, I'm seeing which one it was, about the book. And I scroll down, and it says, here are a few nuggets of wisdom from Albert. Do you mind if I read this?
Please do.
Okay, it says, first and foremost, always remember that you are an eternal soul. You will exist forever, and no matter what you do or say during your life, you will always return to the peace and happiness of the spirit side. It was your decision to incarnate on earth, and you chose the significant events of your life before you were born. When your physical body dies, you will leave it behind like an empty shell, and you will cross over to the spirit side, where you will be reunited with everyone you have ever loved. No one will judge or punish you for anything you did in this life, and you will retain your memories and personality from all your previous lives. All your experiences will add to your wisdom and increase your awareness of yourself as soul, who is part of God, the Creator. Above all, you need to lighten up and enjoy the ride. Do not take everything so seriously. You cannot go wrong or become lost. Regardless of what you do in this life, you will end up back on the spirit side to live another day. Look at your life as an exciting adventure and relish the experience. Keep a smile on your face and laugh freely every chance you get, because laughter will bring joy to your life and spread cheer to everyone around you. And I think that's a beautiful summarization of knowledge and wisdom that Albert has imparted to you to share with the readers and to assist you with your own journey.
Yeah, that was that really does sum up, I think, and I'd forgotten I'd put that in my website, but when you're reading it now, I'm sort of nodding my head and saying, yeah, that's exactly what Albert would have wanted to convey in a few short paragraphs, and I think, that's the message in a nutshell. Now, there's much more detail in my book, but that really sums it up nicely, and thank you for reading that.
You're very welcome. And for the listeners, your book is available through your website, through Ozark Mountain Publishing, through Amazon.com, Barnes & Nobles, and numerous other. You've got several links on the homepage here of your website, Dancing on a Stamp, for the readers to find, for the listeners to find your book so that they can become readers of it. And this is just a fabulous book, and I'm so thankful, Garnet, that you stopped and listened and allowed Albert to communicate with you, first in physical form, and then allow you those conversations to write this book. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing about your continued experience with Albert and the next book that's coming through.
Well, as I say, I'm in the process of writing it, and I'm in fairly constant contact with Albert in the process. And I would rather not disclose what exactly is going to be in the book, because we're talking about a lot of things, and I'm not quite sure what's going into the second book versus the third book.
Right.
By the way, Albert's told me I've got to write anywhere from 4 to 7 books.
Wow. He's going to keep you busy then.
Yeah, and so
you
there's
just
a few
thought
more
you
to go.
were retired. So much for that, right?
Well, I'm retired from the law, but now I've got a new career, which is writing books. So, which I find very fulfilling, very much more fulfilling, and I'm much happier doing this than in my previous career. I could say that without hesitation.
Very
but
good.
Anyway, if people stay posted or check on my website, Facebook page, I'll have announcements as to when the second book is coming out. It's not finished yet. I don't know when it will be, but I'll keep my nose to the grindstone and try to get out as soon as I can, and hopefully it'll have some new and exciting things for the reader when it comes out.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And Garnet, thank you so much for this conversation today. I appreciate your time immensely.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed being on your show, Shelly, and good luck on all your endeavors.
Well, thank you. Well, listeners, remember to check out Garnet's website. It's dancingonastamp.com. You can also visit his Facebook page, and I highly encourage you to do that. It's Dancing on a Stamp. The URL is facebook.com/Dancing on a Stamp. My website is shellyrwilson.com, and you can visit my website to book private sessions, to check upcoming events, and also to listen to any of the archive shows. The show is archived immediately, so if you're unable to listen live, please do listen to the archive show or tell a friend. This concludes today's segment of the Shelly Wilson Show. Until next time, remember, this is your time. I encourage you to live an authentic life, be the best you can be, and love yourself in the process. Much love and many blessings to each of you.